Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our information session today. So my name is Nuala Lonergan and I'm the Chair of Postgraduate Programmes at DCU. So we're going to record the session. Hope it'll be useful to you. I'm here with some of my colleagues in DCU and 4 of our 2020 graduates, one from each of our programmes that we deliver at Open Education through DCU Connected. So here with me tonight, this evening, is Sean Kennedy, our Marketing and Communications Officer, Aisling Duignan, who is Postgraduate Programmes Administrator, Michael Kelly, who is Academic Developer and Tutor with Open Education, Professor Jim Baird, who is the Management for Sustainable Development Subject Leader and also very involved in our Management of Clean Technologies programme, and our 2020 graduates, Dave Ludgate, who's also tutoring with us now, with an MSc in Management of Clean Technologies, Sarah Bonazigal, who has an MSc in Management for Sustainable Development, Deirdre Flood, who has an MSc in Management of Information System Strategy, and Michael Nolan, who has an MSc in Management of Internet Enterprise Systems. So I'm going to give a high-level overview of open education and postgraduate programs, and then I'm going to ask Professor Jim Baird to talk about, give you an overview on our Management for Sustainable Development and Management of Clean Technologies programs. And then Michael Kelly is going to speak to you about our Management of Internet Enterprise Systems and Management of Information System Strategies programs. And then I'm going to ask our 4 graduates to give you a very brief overview of why they picked the program of study that they picked and what their professional role is now, and just maybe one tip of advice for you as an online learner to come in to study with open education. So without further ado, our 4 programs, which you probably all know at this stage, are 4 MSc programs that we run are Management for Sustainable Development, Management of Clean Technologies, Management of Internet Enterprise Systems, and Management of Information System Strategy. So during the week, I got a query from an applicant and they asked me who are my lecturers, and our structure is probably slightly different to what you may have experienced as an undergraduate student or a postgraduate student in a different university. We're under Open Education are part of the National Institute of Digital Learning, which is under the direction of Professor Mark Brown. Eamon Costello is head of Open Education. I think Eamon is on the call here this afternoon as well. And within DCU, there's 3 of us that work on the postgraduate programs team, myself, Nuala Lonergan, Aisling Duignan, postgraduate programs administrator, and Michael Kelly, who is an academic developer and also tutors on some of our modules. And then we work with our subject leaders, academic leaders, and our tutors. And the subject leaders are responsible for the quality and the content of the learning materials and assessment that you undertake. And the tutors, in some parts, they work with the subject leaders. Some of them would write parts of the course materials, collaborating with subject leaders and assessment activities as well. So the tutors are the main people that you will interact with during your studies. They deliver the online tutorials, they will correct all your assignments, and they will write your feedback and send that to you via our virtual learning environment. So we would have up to about 16 tutors at the moment on some of the submodules, or some of the modules we might have. We'll have 2 tutors on each of them, and we could have up to 4 depending on our numbers. So that's sort of our overview. It's a little bit different than maybe what you've experienced before, but that's the structure. So those of you that are considering joining next September, you'll see our 4 programs. Each of you will do 4 15-credit modules in the period of your studies and a dissertation module. And 4, in fact, of the modules are common to each program. So you'll study together irrespective of your discipline. You'll be doing project and change management, sustainable business, evidence-based evaluation, and your dissertation module together. And I think that's a really plus of our programs. It allows that hybrid of students to come together, and because a lot of your activity is online and you're critically analysing, you're given a topic to analyse and critically assess and peer review each other. You get to know people from disciplines that you wouldn't have normally worked with before. I think it's a real advantage. And then you're in your own group for your specific module, specific to your programme of study. So how is the program assessed? It's 100% continuous assessment. Each module has 3 different sections in it, and for each section you do an assignment, and the assignment is typically around 4,000 to 4,500 words in total. And some of them in this year, there's a different types of assessment. Most of the assignments will take an online forum posting where you'll post your opinion on it, which will be supported by academic material, and then you'll also have to peer review your fellow students. So they're very interesting, and they're very engaging, and they're to get students used to working online together, because while it's self-directed and self-regulated, you know, it's really a way to try and not to have students isolated and collaborating together. You'll also do some group work. This year, our students recorded a group video on Zoom that was part of the assessment. Mostly you're writing reports or essay-style questions, but in our entrepreneurship assignment this year, students did just a 15-slide PowerPoint presentation instead of an essay, and found it really challenging initially, but really saw huge benefits as a communication tool. And you'll also, in preparation for your dissertation, you'll be using analytical packages like Qualtrics and SPSS, and you have DCU accounts for those. And, you know, obviously you'll be tutored in that. So they're part of the evidence-based evaluation module. So level 9 is all about critical thinking, and DCU run their own courses about teaching students what is critical thinking, you know, how do I express that? And also we have an online startup skills course, and that also starts preparing you for level 9 coming out from level 8. Okay, and as I said, we have this online startup skills course, and that's run by one of our tutors, and that starts before you begin study, that before you formally the academic year starts. And that's really to get you used to using our virtual learning environment Loop, software packages like Urkund, which is looking at your referencing of your assignment, because we're very keen that there's no plagiarism. The penalties are very severe by the university, so that helps you to look if there's any referencing issues. We also want students to use the referencing tool Zotero, and this really helps with you, especially when you're building for your dissertation, which is a 15,000 word document. So it really eliminates an awful lot of time once you get used to using it, rather than trying to reference manually afterwards. So that's also an opportunity for you to get to know students on the other courses. So it's really about online socialization and learning how to use tools, learning how to use Loop, what's involved. Okay, so just our management for sustainable development, you've probably seen on the website, 3 main topics that are covered: sustainable development, sustainable waste, environmental management, sustainable procurement, sustainable water, and sustainable energy. Okay, I'm not going to go into detail on these today, but I will ask Jim to come in and talk a bit more about the 2 programs. So what does it look like in Loop? This is just a screenshot from this module in Loop, and you can see we're constantly adding to our materials to try and, you know, make them more interactive, and videos, etc., and some self-assessment throughout the module for you to, you know, test your learning as you're going through it. And clean technologies, 3 main areas: sustainable waste, sustainable energy, and sustainable water. And again, Jim will talk to you a little bit more detail about that. We have 2 IS programs. One of them is Management of Information System Strategy. 3 topics for this module are, this specific module is Decision System Strategy, Strategic Technology Management, and Managing Information Systems. And our 4th program is Management of Internet Enterprise Systems, Internet Technologies, Internet Systems Infrastructure, and Internet Applications. And I forgot to mention that each assignment, you'll do an assignment for each section in each module. Your module mark is the average of your mark for your 3 assignments, and that forms your mark for the module. So I'm going to now ask Jim first to talk about a little bit about our MSD and MCT programs, and then followed by Michael Kelly to talk about Management of Information Systems Strategy and Management of Internet Enterprise Systems. And then I'm going to invite our graduates to say a few words about the programs they studied, if that's okay. Okay, Jim, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. No, maybe just jump back.
Yep.
Yeah, go for one.
So that one or
next one?
Next
one, that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's these are interesting times in terms of sustainable development. it seems these sustainable development goals, these 17 goals, are being widely used by businesses in order to kind of promote their kind of corporate responsibilities and their carbon impacts and how they use resources and consume. And all of these things are linked through health, poverty, consumption, institutions, and so on. So we're living in really interesting times in terms of environment. And it's not often that a graduate with an existing degree will be really well placed in that environment. You'll often find that you maybe got a degree in chemistry or a degree in engineering or something. And you look within your organization or within other organizations, and you'll see them all respond to, net zero carbon, the EU Green Deal, and so on. And all of this kind of policy framework is working its way into organizations. And that creates an opportunity for career-minded people to adapt and develop their own skills in order to be a useful person or a consultant within this area. And so these two courses, the Sustainable Development one and the Clean Technologies one, kind of bring to you the kind of management skills, and they all have management in the title, but the management skills in order to apply some of these skill sets and knowledge areas to really what it will be businesses that will be looking for these types of knowledge and insight and skills. The Sustainable Business one is a bit more organizational focused. So you're looking a bit more broadly at issues such as sustainable procurement, how you manage waste and resources within your organization, but it's very much from an organizational overview point of view, and you touch on those issues. The Clean Technology one is a little bit more technical in detail, in that you're getting under the skin or into some of the details around waste policy, waste regulations, renewable energy options. You're using assessment tools to decide what renewable solutions might exist out there. And they're all written largely in the context of the EU and the developments that are coming from there. And then they're all brought into an Irish context. And so you can see the kind of impacts that these technologies are having in terms of water, in terms of waste, in terms of energy use. And any student doing these two projects will come out of it, the latter stages, doing a research project that can be very varied. It can cover anything from agriculture to air quality, water quality, wide range of issues that you're able to pick up on. And so there are a couple of exciting programs, very much aimed at career development and very much targeted at trying to support you moving into an area where businesses will be looking for these key skills. Okay.
Just to say, we'll take a Q&A at the end, if that's okay with everybody. Michael, I'm just going to ask you to talk a little bit about our IS programs.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I suppose, in a nutshell, I suppose there's two master's programs. One is particularly focused on information systems strategy, and the other one is focused on internet enterprise systems. And I suppose the first question I'll attempt to address is, what's the main difference between the two? Well, the first one, information systems strategy, is all about what it says on the tin, is what are the relevant strategies that you need to be aware of, and how can you manage information systems and technologies strategically to bring business value to an organization. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic, which is over 14 months long at the moment. And within the first few months of that pandemic, Satya Nadella, who's the current CEO of Microsoft and just about to be appointed the chairman of Microsoft, said that we've embraced information systems and digital technologies. In the course of a very small number of months, we've actually achieved 2 years of progress in such a small time. But that wouldn't be possible unless you knew how to do this stuff strategically from a management perspective. The other program, the Internet Enterprise Tech Systems, is slightly a bit more, say, technically focused. It looks at technologies, infrastructure, and applications. But the main challenge then in terms of, say, applications, if I just pick one as an example, is how do businesses deal with e-commerce? You'll be surprised to see that very few businesses today have any initiatives in terms of e-commerce now. And also the use of, say, social media as a way of getting out there and identifying and connecting with customers, for example. So in this particular aspect also, we're looking at the supply chain as well. What are the challenges that are within the global supply chain from a, say, technology perspective? And what do organizations need to be focused on in order to ensure they can develop that as a capability? So if you're more focused on the management strategy side, I would recommend the information systems strategy masters. And if you're a bit more comfortable with the technology, or you don't know anything about the technology and you want to find out more about the technology side, the Internet Enterprise Systems Masters would be the option I would go for. Okay, thank you, Nuala.
That's great, thank you, Michael. So I'm going to start with our graduates from last term. I might start with you, Dave, if you don't mind. Dave completed the MSc in Management of Clean Technologies in 2020.
Thanks, Nuala. Just to go through the 3 points you mentioned, so the why. So my history is I'm a civil structural engineer by undergraduate, and I spent 15, nearly 16 years in the quarrying and mining industry. But as time amassed, I kind of wanted to pursue something a bit more along the environmental lines. It was always an interest of mine, and it's something I think I could have tied in with my old job. So I researched a master's course to complete, and through Springboard, actually the Springboard system, which I can't recommend enough, I found the Management of Clean Technologies Masters, and the thing that jumped out at me was I had been researching myself and had read up on the triple bottom line theory, which is that corporation or company should have not only an economic bottom line, but a social and environmental bottom line. And that was mentioned. So that sucked me in straight away, which was great. I started the master's and I said to my company at the time, you know, I think this is something that we could use within our company to improve our technologies, to clean our technologies. And then we could offer it as a service to our existing clients. My company at the time weren't too keen on it. They decided against it, which is fine, but it gave me the confidence to leave that company after 15, 16 years. So this is in the middle of studying. So I had completed the diploma. I was going into the master's and I left my job, and it opened, even that at that stage, it opened so many doors for me. So what was a pretty big pivot in my career. And before I had completed, I joined a company called WW Engineering. I'm now a water environmental engineer, and WW stands for Water, Energy and Wastewater, which closely aligns with the 3 topics that are on the screen there. So it's opened doors that way for me, into a world that where I want to be, where I wanted to be when I started this. Since I finished the master's, it's allowed me to successfully apply for to become a chartered engineer as well. So I've gotten that since I've left as well, and obviously coming back and tutoring on the course has been an added bonus for me. I'm tutoring the energy module, and it's, you know, I'm still learning from it. So that's the work side of things. So you asked as well for a tip. If I could offer a tip, it's communication. So obviously I did this through lockdown as well, which was, you know, there's a silver lining to that, is that you're at home anyway, so you may as well study and write up. But it can be, doing something like this remotely can be quite isolating. So I would encourage anyone to use all the facilities that Nuala listed at the start. The people on that list, everyone is very approachable, but also your peers as well within the course are invaluable. You know, there's WhatsApp groups or various different medium, whatever you're going to use to chat to each other, but just even to help yourselves through the modules and the assignments. I think that was the most important, valuable part for me.
That's great. So Sarah, if you're there, we talk about the Management for Sustainable Development Programme, please.
Hi, everybody. So my story is quite similar to Dave's story. My initial background is environmental engineering. And after 15, 16 years, more or less, in environmental engineering, I was feeling that I was lacking in knowledge, not obviously in technologies, but more on a organizational level. And I wanted to learn about organizational culture in companies by a sustainable point of view. That's why I joined the Management for Sustainable Development course, that gave me a solid foundation in project management and sustainable business. After the graduation, after getting the master, I got immediately career progression. So, and that relates to the tip that I want to give you. My main learning was to study a dissertation that would have been topical and critical for my career development. And I was working, and I'm still working in the energy sector, in particular in the renewable heating. And what I found that was an emerging technology was district heating. So I wrote my dissertation on district heating, and that allowed me to still here. Can you still hear me? Yeah. And so basically I was able to advance thanks to the master and thanks to the specific topic that I chose. So to recap, the master was great. All the basic foundation that I learned was really helpful. What I would recommend is to choose a topic that is close to what you're studying, to what you're working on, and that will increase your career opportunities.
Sarah, that's great. So, Deirdre, if you wouldn't mind. Deirdre is a graduate of the Management of Information System Strategy Programme.
Hi guys. Yeah, I done the Management of Information System Strategy piece. The reason I did it, I suppose, was I work as a contractor for projects for different companies, and I had covered a lot of some of the topics like project management, familiar with that stuff. You touch on a lot of things like outsourcing, things like that, security. So it was really just to get, you know, some fundamental kind of tangible knowledge in that space moving forward as to how companies can form their strategies to compete in a digital world. Excuse me. And it's a digital world, I suppose, that's affecting every walk of life. It's affecting music, TV, your takeaway, your Uber car, everything is being touched on by this. And I suppose failure to innovate in this space leads to failure. I mean, if you look at Blockbuster Video, Kodak cameras, things like that. And these things come up in the learnings. You look at these case studies and, you know, companies that failed to innovate in this space and where they subsequently ended up. So I think initially it was just to get more of a kind of a grounding in that space. I had knowledge of some of the elements of the course, but it was just to get you know, more information and more confidence, I suppose, in the other areas, more knowledge. I work, I'm contracting currently, and for the last few contracts with banks. So I did again choose my dissertation topic around banking and innovation required in banking due to the threat of fintechs and big techs coming into that space, what banks can do strategically to kind of, you know, protect their markets and compete in an ever-changing kind of world. So again, that was hugely helpful working in that environment and space. Those people you can sort of speak to and get some insights and inputs to. And it's going on around you working in banks as well. It's kind of everyday stuff that you're hearing and you're working with. So again, it is useful to choose a topic that's, you know, you can relate to, I suppose, with the dissertation. And the dissertation kind of pulls everything together from the course, like all these topics that you'll have studied and picked up on. It all comes together, your research, everything, all the strategy stuff, it all comes together when you're pulling your dissertation together. And I think, you know, I think as well, a big takeaway for me from the whole piece is your everyday ability. There's some very practical and transferable skills that you pick up in this course. Your ability to research and to present data. I mean, you do it every day, but when you know such an improvement in your ability to do that kind of work and to, you know, get to the point and, you know, present work succinctly, you know, it's valuable. It's a huge takeaway I had from the course as well. And I think just your confidence and your ability to, you know, move forward and move into different projects that are more, you know, focused on that area. You have the background now, you know the stuff, and if the words are oyster, really, you can just move into that space with more confidence and more ability.
Lovely, thanks so much, Deirdre. That's great. And finally, Michael, who's a graduate of our Internet Enterprise Systems program.
Hi all.
Thanks,
wow,
Michael.
a lot of smart people on this call already. Thanks very much for asking me. The reason why, my name is Michael, and then I'm an IT manager in one of the firms in Dublin city centre.
Michael, you're on mute. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I've unmuted myself. Sorry. Hi, yeah, the IT manager can't actually turn on his mic. So the reason why I picked this course is the fundamental. Obviously, there's a lot of project management and there's a lot of modules towards that. The sustainable business, I think, was a fabulous course, eye-opening. But the reason why one of the modules I picked was the internet side of it, and I think based on the last 14 or 15 months, as Michael said, with COVID, and everyone has become very knowledgeable and very active online, whether it's through work or whether it's through their business or whether it's meeting family. Even us now talking on Zoom here is a new fact of life, a new norm. So the module is based on the technologies around what we are doing right now with, like, you know, video platforming, cloud technologies, the fundamental hardware below it, how the internet has worked, how did it evolve into what we have now. And Michael obviously mentioned the social media side of it. E-commerce is obviously a huge thing now in the last 18 months. How many companies have had to move their business from brick and mortar to the internet, to their customers, and the module teaches you how to embrace that technology, how to actually look at, let's say, even the new the emerging technologies coming ahead. Blockchain is a great example of that. Like, you know, Bitcoin will be a great, like, you know, will business start adopting that? Only a couple of days ago, I was doing some research on Revolut. And Deirdre just mentioned the banking side of it, and these disruptive technologies coming in there. I keep muting myself. I don't know why, sorry. And how that technology is emerging and why is it there, and that sort of stuff. So to me, I am biased. I liked the course I did because of these aspects. because in every day and every form of life, wherever you're working from home, whether you're a VPN or using Citrix, or whether you're back in the office or you're back in work, you use technology every day. You use the hardware that these guys will teach you, like, you know, internet access, leased lines, how does that work? And you'll get a broad understanding of why, whether you're an IT person or whether a salesperson comes in and tells you you need to use this type of product or this, you'll understand why you need that. Why do you need two-factor authentication while you have Office 365 in the cloud? Why do you need, like, the aspects of, like, an internet application compared to a local installed application? I'm sure half you guys know that if you're on a VPN, an internet application is a lot quicker than an installed application based on the amount of data that's coming back and forth. I'm sure all your IT people have, like, screamed and ripped their hairs out trying to explain that. So that's the reason why I loved this module, because it teaches how the internet works, why the internet works this way, and the protocols around it. Again, I'm probably repeating myself, the e-commerce and the security. The big, as I mentioned before, the big buzzword at the minute in the last 3 or 4 years is cloud, and how does the cloud work? So when you are in a situation where, okay, yes, I need to share data, how do you share that data, and how do you share that data securely? So that's that course in a nutshell. The tip I would give, and I think I must have said this before, is question your tutors, make them sweat, like, make them earn their money. I always found it, like, a lot more useful as, and you're just basically say, well, hold on a second, why would I use this compared to that? Or why, from a sustainable business point of view, or from a project management point of view, or from entrepreneurship, I always wanted to question why, and I think you should do that. You get more into it, you get more out of it when you do those questions. The second tip, and this is the final one, I'll shut up now, I swear. The final tip would be is meet, or obviously you can't meet, but interact with your fellow students. They are the guys and girls who you will lean up against when it does get tough, and it does get tough. You know, when you're doing your dissertation and you're crying and screaming your head off at the ethics committee or whatever it is, or picking your subject line, the guys are there to help you. Obviously the tutors and all that are there to help you as well, but your fellow students. So we had a WhatsApp group, and I don't know, there's about 40 people in it, and it was just a kind of a nice little, not bitching session, but a nice little kind of just everyone just relaxed. Okay, look at it this way, you're going too big here, Michael, why don't you pare it back a little bit? That type of stuff. So they're my 2 tips. Make your course lecturers sweat. Talk to them, ask them hundreds of questions, mail them, like, use the forums and all that kind of stuff, and then, shoulder to shoulder with your students, with your fellow students, and guys, you'll do brilliantly, better than I am.